You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, we've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years with different personnel over the years, and we don't have usually many people make 2 appearances. Some have made even 3. I think this is his 4th appearance for different reasons on You Cannot Be Serious. And I thought I would let him just smell the roses for a while, just take in the fresh air after a very heavy round of football and festivities over this year. And we will just ask him how he's going, because he's had his health problems and he's been at the top of the football echelon in Victoria for many years, and it's the great Mark Robinson. Thank you, Mark, for joining us on You Cannot Be Serious.
It's a very nice introduction, Sam. I'm glad to be here, buddy. This is my 3rd appearance, actually.
Oh, 3rd, yeah. I know I know when Mike Sheehan was doing it, we like to get your angle on the finals and the top 50 players and all that, but this is the way I travel these days, Mark. I can hardly remember my own name, so I'll take it on advisement. This is the 3rd appearance, and you're in very rare company, because not many people make it 3 times.
No. I listen to the great man, Craig Willis. When you get him on, he's a fantastic man.
He
Craig
is.
Willis.
We spoke to him last week, and he revealed. Did you hear last week?
I did.
Yes, he revealed that he's not really who we think he is.
Yeah, that was quite amazing. He's such a. I would call him a jolly fellow. I've known him for a long, long time. When we were both smoking together, we used to smoke a lot.
Yeah.
at different sporting events, the footy and the tennis, and I got to know the voice pretty well. And that was fascinating.
Mellifluous voice.
That was fascinating how he had a different name and his upbringing. Everyone's got a story to tell, haven't they?
He said to me when I was just before we recorded it, I said, I'm at, where was I, Sue? This is Sue Stanley's listening to this. This is Mark Robinson. I'm introducing her over the phone to you.
Hi, Mark.
G'day, Sue. How are you?
We were in at Coffs Harbour, were we, or Port Stephens or Port Macquarie? Port Macquarie, I think. And he said, I'm at Port Macquarie. He said, I've got something to tell you about Port Macquarie. I had no idea what it was. So I said to him, what is your fascination, or why are your roots at Port Macquarie? And that's how it started.
Yeah, as I said, everyone's got a story to tell, and when they feel comfortable enough to express it, and they feel comfortable enough with the person that they're talking to, who they can trust, I found over time that people are happy to tell their story. If they trust the people they're talking to.
Well, what a fantastic segue to why I am speaking to you, because I love to speak to you. I do. I don't see you very often. And I've followed your career and what you've done and the controversies in your life and your health. So first of all, Mark, I nearly called you Craig. First of all, Mark, I want to say I've been up with Sue up in the Whitsundays for the best part of 6 months, so you'll pardon me for asking this because we don't get the Herald Sun up there. Are you still the chief football writer for the Herald Sun?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Yes, the only thing that's happened
yes.
is that Fox Footy have decided they wanted to make a change.
I know that. No, I did know that. That word got to me about that. I'll just have a chat to you. That's not really why I got you on, but have a chat to you about that. But so you're still the chief Herald football writer for the Herald Sun, and you've been doing this, Mark Robinson. You've been doing this, I think you started, you've been covering AFL, have you not, for about 35 years? 1992, I think you started doing it, or is that not right?
92, I started at the Herald Sun as a sub-editor. And then I was on the production side for 3 years. I started writing in 96. And then just started writing.
About football?
About football.
Yep.
Football, bit of tennis, but I find tennis incredibly boring. I find tennis one of the most boring sports. I don't watch it. I refuse to watch it. I just get bored. So I was covering the tennis, but I didn't really cover the tennis. I was just covering people going to the tennis. But I've been really lucky. I've got a real affection for newspapers, and I replaced Mike Sheehan, the great Mike Sheehan, when he left in 211, which is now 224.
Yep.
So I've been the chief since then, and got a real affection for footy and the people in footy. So I've been pretty lucky.
So I was going to get on for the people in footy. Now, I know you've had, these are probably well documented, but now, first of all, besides all that, mate, nothing is more important than your health. Now, I didn't really know. I thought you had a problem with your heart and you had open heart surgery, and I know that was well documented. That seemed to come on top of, or was that as a result of a serious car crash you had? Did you have a serious car crash?
That's bullshit. I didn't have a serious car crash. I made an error of judgment, which meant a car ploughed into me at about 50 k's an hour.
And it knocked you around?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you've been in a car accident. It shook me. It's funny, I've never had a car accident before. But I got T-boned, my fault, and it just sort of, you get thrown around the cabin. I had my seatbelt on, thank God.
Yep.
But the head went to the left, and then it came back to the right and hit the car driver's window, and then I was just taken to hospital for.
I would say that's a reasonably serious car crash, Mark.
Yeah, but other than that, I had open heart surgery in 21. I had a 6 bypass, which is a biggie.
Yep.
There's a 7th bypass, but there's no 8. There's no 8. And
no, I remember speaking to you while you were convalescing, and that was quite serious, wasn't it? I mean,
oh Christ, yeah, no, that was they call it the widowmaker. If you ever do read up about people with serious heart attacks, if your widowmaker's in trouble, which is one of the arteries in your heart. I think there's 3 major ones. One was completely blocked. The other one was 90% blocked. The other one was okay. Well, so if that second one was 100% blocked and not 90%, we wouldn't be talking today.
So, Mark, are you the same person? Are you the same person as you were? Are you the same person as you were before that serious health scare, or does it? Bring you back to you think, my word, you look at life a little differently?
It's a really good question. I'm sure you've had friends, both of you guys have had friends with people who've gone through some serious health issues, and when the big guy comes looking for you to say you might be going out the door and you survive, there's no doubt you go through some changes. I think I told you then. And I'll absolutely repeat it now, that I didn't know there was that much love, care and support in the world. When I survived, the people who come looking for, singing out to you, it's amazing. Because you go through this world and you think you're on your own, and it's a battle every day, and the care and love was amazing. And what I think since then, when I was 24 and it's now 21, that'll have to be 21, you change as you get older anyway. I think you become less aggressive as you get older anyway. Yep. You become more open to other people's thinkings and feelings, I think, as you get older. And that certainly happened, I just did naturally. But with this, again, everyone's got a story to tell and everyone's got a battle. And you just got to understand. And so you just got to be understanding and accepting and helping. And if that's changed me, it's absolutely changed me for the better. Not that I was a prick before. Actually, some people will probably say I was a prick. But, it's a hard-nosed business. Newspapers, it's a hard-nosed business. Football, it's win. It's win. There's no such thing as losing in footy. It's win, 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 and it's aggressive and it's constant. And when you're in that world, it's game day every day, in a sense, for us. But you can sit back and smell the roses a little. A, as you get older, and B, when you realise, perhaps working 12 hours a day. Not that I do it every day, but perhaps football and newspapers aren't the absolute everything in your life.
So I'm interested to hear you say it's always a desire and a motivation to break stories in the industry that you're in, particularly on the 360 AFL 360, which incidentally, Mark, probably, if you could make a case, it's been the most successful football show ever. How many episodes have you done? 2,500?
Yeah, we did. I think we did 1,500 together.
So, yeah,
which is a lot of. Yeah, it is a lot. It's not the most successful show ever.
All depends what you mean by successful. If it's been. How many football shows have done 1,500 episodes?
No, that's true.
Yep.
That's true. John Anderson interviewed me recently, and he put me with you and Jack Dyer and Eddie Maguire and Lou Richards and Rex Hunt, people who've done TV shows in Melbourne for more than 10 years, and that I was quite proud of that, but B, it shook me a little bit. I thought, oh well, yeah.
Yeah, take it, cop it.
That's nice.
I feel fortunate to be in your company, Mark. If that is, if we've got to a decade, we did it on the Footy Show for 25 years, but we did it once a week in the winter. So not quite the daily grind of you. Well, I don't know if you call it a grind, but you're proud of what you do, and you've well researched, and you've got to kick a few skulls every now and again, or else your credibility doesn't last too long unless you have an opinion about something that most people don't have an opinion about. So it's not as easy as people think. I can tell you that, and you know that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you got to be true to yourself. You can't be just having an opinion on everything just for the hell of being controversial. I don't do that. I can't fake. I can't fake being angry, and I can't fake being excited. I don't know. I just can't do it. So with our show, we didn't do any pre-planning. We just went into the show, and the show came along at a time when the footy world was probably looking for a show. I mean, the Footy Show, which you guys were on, was such a dominant TV show for so long, and Fox Footy had gone out of business and come back in. It was just looking for something, and you're my good friend and your former good friend. I don't know if you're still a good friend with his or not, but Rod Law, he put us together, himself and Jared, and gave us this game plan, and then to go out there and knock your socks off. So out we went, and what developed from there was a bit of yin and yang, and
yep, isn't that important?
That's what it was, and it was not planned, mate. You know, nothing's. The best of the footy shows unplanned. The best of the 360, if there was ever a best of the 360, nothing was planned. Okay? So Jared said something, it's the first time I heard it. They put something on TV. Basically, if I hadn't seen it, I'd watch it like everyone else. And I react, you know, and that's how we...
And that is the secret of it, mate. Too much planning and over-preparing and trying to work out when you're going to tell a joke or make a smart-ass a comment or retort. I have found it's got to come instantaneously. If you try and plan it, it's people see through it.
Yeah, I think so. And there's other shows you got their pre-planned jokes and they fall flat and sometimes they laugh. But you go with the flow. And the show was about footy, but the show was about having fun. The show was about being serious. You can't talk serious football for an hour because you bore the shit out of people. You can't have fun for an hour because people say, God, that was a bit windy, that show. So you just got to have the balance, and you mix it up, and you get players on, you get coaches on. Self and Jared spoke. I mean, I'd be honest, Sam, I fucking loved it. I just thought it was so exciting.
I know, because you are an innate football person. I can tell that, and you live and breathe the game. Do you not?
I live and breathe the game. Well, when you work in a newspaper, you got a heavy responsibility to that newspaper.
Yep.
When you get named chief football writer, you got a heavy responsibility to football. And I learnt that off Mike. So if you want people to read your stories, they've got to actually expect you to watch their game. If you're going to talk about a team, don't talk about the result. You've got to talk about every moment of the game. So there's a responsibility of watching every game. Now, people say, geez, that's arduous. Well, yes and no. So the joy comes in talking about what you see and what you feel and what your opinion on this and that. And how many people have you spoken to in life who've come up to you? Thousands. I wouldn't have had as much as you, but I've had a lot. And people come up and just say, how do you reckon Collingwood's going to go? How do you reckon Melbourne's going to go? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's nice to have an opinion and be able to talk to them back. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, they'll see straight through you and say, you're a sham.
Yep.
You're a sham.
And I would think, Mark, and probably no one knows this better than me, but I would think that if you're going to comment on a game and your credibility is on the line and you don't like it or you don't like the way a certain player or a certain group played and you say it, you will get a nice belting. And I suppose that's all part and parcel of the game, but you must have received plenty of advice over the years.
Yeah, I have. But I look back on it fondly. The arguments I had with coaches and players, that these things happen. It's a hostile industry. It's emotional. It's win or lose. It's Melbourne. It's an electric environment, football. I've had a couple of decades have a crack at me from the public, but these things happen.
A couple. Gee, half your luck, mate. I duck and weave through most of the corridors of life, mate. But like you, I wouldn't have it any other way, because if you're going to say something and put yourself out there, cop the good with the bad. And you were quite right, Mark, about you don't know who your friends are until you strike a bit of adversity. And half the country would hope that I get run over by a truck, and the other half, they come to your rescue and get in touch with you when you need it.
Yeah, and but we're going to do a full circle here. But that's what we're talking about before. That's what you learn in life. That we all know heaps of people. We all know heaps of people. There's no doubt about that. Now, but there's a word for that. They're called acquaintances, and that's fine. And there's some really good acquaintances, really good. But I tell you what, when your good friends are there, Christ, do you what?
I wish I'd thought of this. Mind you, wouldn't have to be a rocket scientist to think of this. But I read this. Someone said, "Your real friends are those people who will defend your name behind your back."
Yeah, I've read that somewhere. I don't know. It's very true.
Yep.
Very true.
So you said you've settled down a little. You haven't but you've been a bit feisty over the journey, Mark. You've had a bit of a tete-a-tete with several reporters, and I think you said Mr. Fazolo of Collingwood was not fair dinkum when he said he had depression, and that caused a ruckus. No, that's a very strong. That's strangely enough, that is a very strong. If you thought that, and I've thought plenty of things about players that on the football field and after, I've thought similar things. But to say that's a very strong opinion, and I'm not congratulating you on saying it, because Mr. Fazolo obviously took exception to it. But if you thought that, to say it is that's pretty ballsy.
Yeah, it's that one part of the world, the one part of life, mental health, that is an off-limits subject. Do I think? I don't know. I'm sure Alex Fasolo did this or did not do this, and I'm not accusing him of anything. But do I think it's been a crutch for people who make errors in life? Absolutely, I think that. Because I think everyone's got mental health. Everyone's got a brain. Everyone's got mental health. They've got stresses. Everyone has. And I think sometimes as the world's gone on, it's been a crutch for people to say, oh, I've got mental health, I'm not feeling great. Well, pick yourself up. Everyone's been trodden on. You've got to pick yourself up. Now, I'm not the big lecturer of life. Far from it. But Christ almighty, there's a lot of people doing it hard out in this world.
Yep.
A lot of people. And everywhere. Around the world. Everyone. Yeah.
And
Still
Mark,
doing hard.
and Mark, you could make a case for the plethora. I think there's a large number of people, relatively speaking, that come forward with the CTE experience, and I've looked at people who have said that they've suffered over the years, and you just look at that and you think, oh, I wonder if that's right or not.
Then that's a great discussion. I'm doing a lot of writing on concussion at the moment. A really good friend of mine, not an acquaintance, Mark McClure.
Yes.
Mark McClure was one guy I met at footy, a man on 360. He's a man's man of any man I've met in my life, Mark McClure.
Yep.
He can drink, he can tell stories, and he would play tough football. And I heard he was in trouble, and I went out and sat with him at his house a couple of months back. And Sellers has been diagnosed with early dementia and early Alzheimer's, and he's 66, and it's not hereditary. And I think he's been not a denier of CTE symptoms or the effects of concussion. I won't say he's a denier, but I thought he was a bit like you.
Yep.
Really doesn't exist. And he said something to me, and I'll never forget it. He said, "You don't know until you got it." And
yep.
I sat with him on his couch at his home, and he wasn't the same man. Now he's really frightened about what's ahead. And
so did he put his dementia down to playing football and getting?
He did.
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Now you played in that era. Now let's not. The 1920s were tough. The 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. They're all tough eras because the game was violent. It was aggressive and it was a violent game. And Sellers played in the 70s and the 80s. And he said to me, he goes, "Mate, you could play footy and get punched in the back of the head 5 times." And it was just part of the game. People would go up and just hit you. And he said, "It hit me and hit me, hit me." And he suspects his condition now is it because of what happened. Now, he's not going out there to sue the AFL or anything like that. He's just believing that the game has eventually caught up with him. And that's what interests me about this game that I love, and you played 300 games and you're great at. And we all love the game, to borrow a line from Mike Sheehan. We all love the game, but people just played it at better levels than others. Now, I look at the game now and I think, I wonder if the game was too tough. And the world is now catching up to this tough sport that footy played for these 60, 55, 60, 65-year-old men who played the game, who are struggling now. Has the game caught up with them? And I think the AFL's got a responsibility to make the game as safe as they can, and they are working towards that. Now, I don't know how much safer you can make the game, but it's a never-ending road, that, Sam.
What?
To make the game safer is a never-ending road.
What an extremely pertinent point you've made there, Mark, because I finished in 1980 after playing for 18 years, and I don't know if it started to get a little... no, it didn't start to get a little less violent. Probably in the 90s it did, but it was a brutal, snide, callous, cowardly game in those days. And as Mark McClure said, people just would belt you behind the play just because it was part and parcel of trying to put you off your game, and with very little ethics and very little morals and a lot of cowardice in it. But you make a very good point. See, I'm a great critic. I don't watch a lot of football, but probably because of this reason, I'm a great critic of strong play being penalised, strong tackles being penalised, for the very fact that if someone hits their head after they've been tackled legitimately, you can get weeks for that. And I just don't understand if it's part and parcel of the game, not being slung round and belted into the ground and driven in. But if someone hits their head as a result of a strong tackle, I don't understand that in a contact sport. But you will say, and people will say quite rightly, you've got to live in the real world, and it's a litigious society we live in. But I think the real toughness, not the snide stuff, but I reckon the real toughness is gradually disappearing. It's almost to my mind, you'll disagree with this, I know, Mark, it's almost becoming touch football.
No, I don't disagree. There's a lot of just chip footy, and people, the coaches like possession. So there's a confluence of a lot of reasons about where the game is now. And don't get me wrong, the game is still a good game. It's a great game, but the toughness element is going out of the game. But you got to remember, or not remember. You got to take into consideration. It's only entertainment. This started as a sport, just like, I don't know, this started as a sport to keep the masses happy. Like Caesar, putting on the gladiators in the Colosseum. Let's put 40 days and 40 nights of entertainment, people killing each other just to keep the masses happy. Footy's just another sport to keep the masses happy. And it became very, very popular. And it was tough. It was brutal, as you say. And unfortunately, people are now getting affected by the brutality of that game. So do we, as a society, say, oh, well, no, that's life. It's a tough game. You've got to accept it. Or do we say, oh, no, hang on. This is only entertainment. It's only entertainment. Why we can't have people committing suicide because their brains are a mush.
Yep.
We can't have that. It's only a sport. Now, I agree with you that the toughness element is shrinking from the game. It's still a tough sport, but they've got to be more careful.
So do you think it's a tough sport, Mark? When I say tough, you've got to be tough to run and be aerobic and rough and bump into people, but you've got to be so careful how you bump people. You've got Doug Hawkins, the great Doug Hawkins, said if he was coach, he wouldn't allow people to bump people because every bump is fraught with danger for a free kick or getting reported or getting suspended. It is gone. I believe it's just gone too far the other way. There's a duty of care when you sign up to play AFL football, and I absolutely agree with you, what you just said. The times have moved on and you just can't, for entertainment's sake, allow people to get belted from pillar to post. But I just reckon it's gone too far. But that's only my opinion.
Yeah, that's okay. But we just got to find the balance. That's all we've got to do. We've got to find the balance to keep the game exciting and fast moving. We've got to keep finding rules to not allow the coaches to make this game so defensive. Because 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the game was bogged down. It was bogged down defensively. My God, they couldn't move the ball, Sam.
Yep.
It was just so bad.
So
they put a few rules in to open up the game and allow these athletes, these people, to do what they want to do all their lives, which is actually play with freedom and play with the instinct,
yep,
rather than that chip.
That's the fine balance that you're talking about. So you say you want it fast moving and all that, and absolutely, but the chip. How many times I just turned, some of the games are so bad that they just chip the ball. You must have noticed in the 35 years you've covered it, where someone takes a mark over their head in a football game, the crowd go berserk, taking a mark, kicking key position forwards, one-on-one contests with the great Carey and the West Coast Eagles player, or whatever his name was, Glenn Jakovic, all the great Ablett and all the great people that Langford playing on Ablett, Wade getting picked up by, all that's gone. I understand that, but that happens because no one kicks the ball down to those people quick enough because they're all trying to hang on to it and they're desperately trying not to make a mistake.
Yeah, and coaches send people down to go 2-on-1. Forwards don't very rarely go 1 against 1. They've always got a third man coming up, and it's just kick it in, just go to the contest, bring it to ground, set up, set up a wall. It's this game continually evolves. It really does. I talk about those key forwards. Barry Hall said to me once, I asked him when did he realise that his footy career was in trouble, and he said, as a full forward, when I found myself leading back towards goal rather than leading out from the goal square, I knew I was in trouble. And to me, that is one of the most. It should be that sentence should be put up in lights to say this was not how the game was designed to be played. They'll full forward at centre half forward, running back towards goal, trying to mark the ball with the flight of the ball. That's just not how it was.
How many times, mate, did you see? How many times in a game do you see 36? How many on the ground at any one time? 36, isn't it? How many times do you see 36 players up one half of the ground?
Yeah, no.
And you say it's got to be, it's fast and it's got to be open, but that just cruels the game.
The AFL are trying to do something about that. The AFL knows the congestion and that bubble. I call it the bubble, the 60, 70 metre bubble. Just moves around the ground and there's every player's in this bubble. Now, I think the AFL are trying to work out ways, they call it, to stretch the ground. Send forwards back. Let's bring back other skills into the game. But it'll evolve. It'll keep evolving. It survived. What was it, 1850 or something, when Melbourne played Geelong the first game. It survived wars. It survived everything. Yeah. It has survived coaches bringing in defence, mate. Defence. The defensive nature of coaching killed the spectacle of the game.
No, it did. And the number of interchange players is fast doing that as well.
Mick Moldhouse had it up to about 160. 160. It's now down to 75. And I don't mind. I admire the coaches for having the brilliance and the foresight to change the game. I look at it and go, wow, Clarkson, we've had a lot of changes in the last 5 years, last 20 years. Clarkson and then Malthouse with the interchange, and then the kicking game was returned under Clarkson again at Hawthorn, and then Richmond's rapid ball movement forward, and there's so many elements to the game. So you got to admire the coaches who come up with a game plan and think, this is our best chance of winning, and they actually end up winning a premiership. You think, wow, that's fantastic.
Would you say that Alistair Clarkson is the classic example of no matter how good a coach you are, if you haven't got the cattle on the deck, you're going nowhere? It's pretty overrated.
Absolutely.
Pretty overrated coaching when you think about it, because if you don't have the players, and once the game starts, there's very little you can do to change the outcome of a game. Just ask the Sydney Swans when they played Geelong in the grand final 4 years ago, and last week or last month or wherever it was.
Yeah.
The coaches it's very overrated, and they get blamed for a hell of a lot of things they don't have much control over.
Yeah, that's very true. Overrated coaching. You're right about Clarkson, but history is littered with premiership coaches going to other teams, not being able to perform. And you're right, you need the players. And once you get the players, so there's so many layers and facets of coaching. So you got to get the players, okay? So you got to teach them how to play when they're young. No worries, that's one facet of coaching. And then you got to teach them to stop being selfish and being selfless as players, and that comes with age and experience and comfortableness of who players are. Chris Fagan, 63 years of age. And Chris Fagan coached in a manner this year that perplexed a lot of modern day analysts who the game is ripped apart by numbers. And Fagan didn't coach like that. Fagan coached with these words such as trust and teamsmanship and loyalty, and I'll put trust in you 6 years ago, and let's build together. And
attitude.
all those words that they mean so much, but you've actually got to find the hook with those words into your team. And I was so rapt for Chris Fagan winning the grand final. I was so
particularly because he had his world caved in from the Hawthorn experience. Whether you think that's right or not, it did. It just about destroyed him and Clarkson.
I said to you, I don't know, 40 minutes ago, everyone's got a battle.
Yep.
And theirs was public, and until you live a battle, you really don't know what people are going through.
So,
and people will put on a brave face, because that's what people do. They put on a brave face. It's like you and Sue. And people say, "How was your trip?" And you go, "Yeah, it was great. It was great." And then we might drop a bottle of red wine one night and say, "How really was your trip?" And you say, "Well, Christ.
well,
This happened and this happened and this happened and that broke down. Had a fight that day, and God Almighty, it was terrible at times."
Well, she's listening to this now. We have had more things go wrong with this boat, but Sue, how are we going? Do you reckon? As I say, how do you reckon we've gone in the 5-6 months we've been away? We've gone all right, haven't we?
We've done all right. We haven't. Do you know? You wouldn't believe this,
Mark.
Mark.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it that we've never had an argument on the boat. But
Haven't you really?
No, but I can tell you there have been so many things that have gone wrong with this boat. You couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe how many things have gone wrong, which you'd say they'd be challenging in themselves, but we've just dealt with it together.
It's all the experience of taking a risk and doing it, Mark.
And as
But you two couldn't afford to blow up or anything. I mean, it's just the two of you on a bloody boat. I mean, the whole thing will.
And I can't get off.
That's right.
Yeah, the whole thing would blow up if you two can't get on.
Captive audience in a dog box that's floating, and it's a great example. This is a bit like football: attitude, commitment, discipline, enthusiasm, loyalty, and the most important is persistence.
I'll ask you some questions if I can, Sue. Do you drink alcohol on the boat?
No, we don't.
Do you go fishing?
We have, but we don't.
No, we've been up for 6 months up in some of the most pristine country in the world, or seas and waters in the world. I've never caught. I've tried. I can't catch a fish. Sue has caught a couple of fish. It's just not our go, Mark. I'm just no good at it. Rex. I went fishing once with Rex Hunt, this is true. Up at Narooma, and I was in a tinny with him in a boat. I was on one side of the boat, which he baited the hook, and I threw it over the side, and he was on the other side. I never caught a fish. He reeled in fish after fish until that many tinnies came, saw him there was a flotilla of small boats around him, following him where he went, because that's where the fish were. Not on my side of the boat.
So can I ask you, how do you guys fill your time in? Did you anchor out of the jetties and?
Absolutely, mate. We permanently docked at Coral Sea Marina, and then you go out to all the islands and all the inlets and all the safe havens, and you go out to the reef and you snorkel and you swim with the fish, and you anchor or take a mooring out in the middle of nowhere, and the weather is magnificent. I know this sounds pathetic for people listening to this, say, "Oh, stop, take your hand off it," and to be out in the middle of nowhere with another person sitting there, and you think, this is so surreal. It is the best, well, in relative terms, the best experience, the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Would you consider going elsewhere, having another trip? And if you did, would you go other parts of Australia? Would you journey somewhere else out of Australian shores?
That's a very good question, Mark. But the boat is limited by its range of fuel, and it is a hell of a long way. We've spent 3 weeks coming back to, and we're now at Eden. It's such a long way to take the boat from far north Queensland down to here. So I wouldn't take the boat anywhere else. I might get in a camper van or a mobile home and go around Australia and have the same experience, because we documented every day that we're on it. We put it on YouTube. It's called Original Smart Ass Sam, and we've had 40 million people look at it around the world.
Why? Are you amazed?
Not because it's us, just because they like people stuffing up in a boat, because that's what they do.
Yeah, I know that. You've been a pretty controversial, well-known, popular figure for so long. Are you amazed, Sam, that people are still interested in your thinkings and what you're doing at life at however old you are now?
Now, Mark, I've rang you up to ask you some questions. These are very good questions you're asking me, Mark. That is a very good question. I say to Sue often, don't I, Sue? I say, I'm staggered at the people who follow us and people we've never heard of. They contact us on the YouTube, and we've just arrived here at Eden. People follow us on our daily blogs, if you like. There was several people here to meet us at this port. Everywhere we go, people in the street, so they have no idea who we are. A lot of them do. A lot of them don't. And they say, "Oh, I recognise you. You're the people on the boat that's having a lot of problems with it." It is, and I say to Sue, I can't believe people are interested in me. I just can't believe it.
I think, as you said, Robbo, the natural spontaneity of what you do is what makes a show. And I think that's what Sam is as well. He can't do a second take. So anything that we do, there is no editing. It is just, I don't even know what he's going to say. He just turns it on, and then it just
it's
whatever
like
happens.
You and Jared. It's like Sue says, I said, turn the camera on. She said, what do you do? I said, no, I'll just do it off the top of my head. Which we do. We never do a second take, and that's exactly why you were successful on your television program, because you didn't try and
people like that
make things up.
Rawness. I reckon.
Yeah, everyone likes rawness. Last question. As you've got older, Sam, have you become a warmer person to other people? Or do you think you were always quite a warm person to other people?
I'm a warm person to my friends.
We know that. What about to the people who aren't your friends?
I'm very forgiving, but I'm very forgiving. If I have a blue with someone, there's only a couple of people that would really have to try pretty hard and understand why I was disgruntled with them in the first place, and accept that, and then I would embrace them because, as you say, Mark, as you get on a bit, I'm 80 next year. You think, what now? We're here for a microsecond in relative terms, and what's the point of holding too many grudges with people, as long as they will concede that I think they are wrong in the first place, and I will concede I was wrong too. But that's a very good question, and as I say, you've only got to face adversity of any sort later in life, and you have a whole different perspective on the life that's in front of you and that has gone before you.
Absolutely.
Mark, I can actually add a little bit more to that. I think, honestly, I think he has mellowed a lot. And I think the change of him being up in far north Queensland, if I went for a walk or anything, you would not see Sam on any other boat or having a drink with him, like cordial, or he drinks water or soft drinks. I'd come back and he'd be having a chat on the neighbour's boat. So I reckon he has mellowed quite a bit.
Yeah. Don't destroy.
Okay, I'm throwing down the gauntlet here. Sam.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people that you know.
Yes.
Mike Sheehan, Rod Law,
yes,
Don Scott,
yep,
Grant Thomas.
Yeah,
I think you should reach out to him.
Well, Grant Thomas I have no problem with, and Don I don't have any problem with, because Don, we did this for 4 years, and Don went out of his way to make sure that it didn't run smoothly, and I've told him that. I never spoke anything, never said anything behind his back. I wouldn't say to his face. And one day he completely dismantled the whole thing that we were doing, and I lost it. And I've never.
You did. But you were too brutal, mate. You were too brutal with him.
Anyhow, I've said this to plenty of people. Don will always be a friend of mine. I would never speak ill. I would never speak behind his back, say things behind his back I wouldn't have said to him, and I've never have. And he's a friend of mine and will always be a friend of mine. I had many battles on the football field where you talk about Mark McClure. He used to belt we used to belt the living suitcase out of one another. He's a very good man, and I've never spoken to him. This is because he's so stubborn and pig-headed. I reached out when he left. He has never spoken to me or rang me since the day he left.
Well, drive down when you get down.
Mark, I did. Sue and I dropped into his place. He wasn't there. We knocked on the door down
he was hiding.
Mornington. No, his car wasn't there or nothing. I've reached out to him after it happened. I said, mate, I believe you were wrong. And he said, oh, well, if you think I was wrong, that's all that matters. I said, no, mate. I said, Don, speak to me. Have a conversation with me. Why don't you think I had the right to say that? No, I'm not. If you think that's... and that was it. I've never spoken to him since. I would speak to him. If I saw him at a function, I'd have no problem in saying,
fix it up, mate. Just fix it up.
Now, Mike Sheehan, Mike Sheehan left the podcast because of the Nicky Winmar thing.
I know that.
He got rounded. DeGill McLaughlin rounded the three of us up and charged us with vilification. And Mick just that he just went into his shell over that, and that's fair enough. And then I heard him on the rabbit hole with. He said that I abandoned him with the Nicky Winmar thing, and I saw him at the function at the the grand final, and I ripped into him, and we had quite a strong argument in public at the table we were at, and we made up. And I said, Mike, I've been a friend of yours for a long time, and I'm still going to be a friend of yours. I'm not sure why you said what you did. So we were fine in the end. So I probably don't see him a lot because I don't run into him, but I would always be welcome to be. He would always be welcome in my company if I.
What about Rod Law?
No, Rod. No, Rod Law. I don't wish to speak about Rod Law because. No, I'm not going to mention why we.
Okay.
I was very good on very good terms with him, and I'd never. He says I'd met him when he worked at 3AW, but I never didn't think I'd ever met him. But Mick Sheehan brought him into the podcast one day, and he became a fixture in it, and then it went off the rails. I'm not telling you why it went off the rails, but so I'm not sure. Mind you.
Anyway, the point I'm making is, as you said before, you're turning 80 next year. Mate, you got a microsecond. If you got shit in your liver with some people, and it's all good, no worries, but just fix it up.
Yes, well, I would be happy to fix it up. Now, thank you, Mark. I'm very appreciate this conversation. I hate this is just to get back to this very boring thing, but you said that players are a little selfish, and it's. How would you justify players not being selfish when we place so much importance on a umpire's award called the Brownlow Medal, and someone can get 45 votes? This is no reflection on the boy who won the Brownlow Medal, Mr. Cripps. How can you quantify the fact that someone can get 45 votes in the most prestigious award, where you can take the Norm Smith Medal, you can take the Ron Barassi Medal, you can, besides winning a premiership, it's the most prestigious night in AFL history, and someone gets 45. It makes a mockery out of it, mate. Do you not agree?
I agree 100%. And I admire Patrick Cripps as much as you're a terrific player, but 45 votes, it's not right. We, things happen in football, and you look and go, how did that happen? How did it eventuate that over the last 10 years, Greg Williams, I think, Gavin Wang named one in 1993 with 19 votes. And then 20-odd years later, or nearly 30 years later, someone gets 45 votes.
Patrick Cripps got 25 more votes than Bontempelli, who arguably had a better season. This is no reflection on Cripps. It's not his fault that he's a star.
I know, but it's got to be reviewed. It's got to be looked at. We can't have this award that's been going for so long, and you said the right word, prestigious. The most prestigious award in the game was made to look like a joke this year, and we can't have that. The game can't accept that.
Have you said that before? I'm very glad you said that. Have you said that before?
Not in probably such strong language.
No, well, I'm very glad. I'm very glad you said that.
The game, so that's fine. We just got to accept that it's not right. So, okay, once we accept that it's not right, what can we do about it? What can the AFL, what can the umpires, what can we do to fix this? Because we don't want one of the most prestigious awards becoming a bit of you use the word mockery and I use the word joke, become, something that we just giggle at. This is not right. We can't have this. So I wonder if it's the society again. The writing up in football, the promotion of football is just superstar. Wherever you look, everyone gets promoted, and I wonder if that promotion has got into the psyche of the umpires. They're only human. They go out in the game. They get told for 5 days leading up to every game. Nick Dacos is playing. Bontempelli's playing. Patrick Cripps is playing. And it just gets into their consciousness, I suppose.
Yeah, and as if they haven't got enough things to worry about trying to get the odd decision correct. And I don't know how they collate them. I noticed Razor Ray was interviewed at the Carbine Club, I think, and he said, the 4 of them get in the room after and they discuss. So if you've got 2 experienced umpires with 2 novices, the experienced umpires would say, I think so-and-so and so-and-so was best, and the other 2 would say, I suppose so. I don't know if that's how it works, but it's a quaint award given by the umpires, and it was now, Mark, I've got just got 2 other things to ask you before you've had enough of this. You've pulled over in the car, have you?
Yeah, I pulled over at the aerodrome between Tooradin and Curry Up. I've been sitting here.
Where are you going?
I'm coming back from Inverloch. I've been down there for the weekend, and I'm just coming back to Melbourne.
Has the Melbourne Cup been run yet? What time is it?
No, that's this afternoon. I don't know. How long have I been on the phone?
Anyhow, we'll be playing this tomorrow, so it doesn't matter. Because I'm. So, now, Mark, have you been careful not to ruffle City Hall, the AFL, in your opinions, either writing or on the media, the television or the radio? Are you mindful whenever you make a statement or give an opinion that this mightn't go over well with the hierarchy, or does that not bother you?
No, that doesn't bother me. I've heard you say that before, that, you talk in general too. Not specifically me, but you always think that you always say generally, they want to keep their accreditation, etc., etc. I've not thought about that ever once. My threat of accreditation. I mean, I've been abused. I've been abused by Demetrio. Gil McLaughlin's had a crack at me. The media people, senior media people, ring me up and just go absolutely fucking bonkers.
Well, you're doing something right then.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm doing anything wrong or I'm doing anything right.
No, you're having an opinion.
What I believe in myself. Like I actually think the AFL's decision to suspend the GWS Giants players, right?
That was my last question.
Was one of the most ridiculous things I've seen. And in the last 24 hours, they have suspended an umpire for dressing up as Osama bin Laden at the Umpire's End of Season Award. They suspended him for a week for dressing up as Osama bin Laden.
Well, Mark,
now,
if you'd heard my
I heard you.
About the AFL, that is the most disgracefully virtuous, pompous, arrogant shit I've ever heard from someone running a professional organisation. That is extraordinary. If you look into the circumstances and what they did, it is. I don't know how Andrew Dillon could look at the camera with a straight face and deliver that nonsense. That was extraordinary.
Okay, is it ideal? No, it's not. We know that. But this blunt force trauma response from the AFL, suspended 4 weeks, fine for dressing up as characters out of Django Unchained. I mean, Christ.
Mate,
it's too far, mate. I want to say, stop it, AFL. Stop it. And I understand, I'm all for the AFL's inclusive nature and stuff, because I honestly believe that the people in this world who struggle to get support, and this great game can help them, no doubt. This game can help a lot of people, and we got kids getting bullied, and
Yeah.
Gay people, whatever, experiencing some troubling times. Footy can help, and I'm absolutely all for it. But I just thought they overreached with the GWS, and then they got themselves into a corner and said, "Oh, we have to suspend the umpire." The umpire for dressing as Osama bin Laden. I mean, he's not celebrating him.
No,
If
just
he
parody.
come out and said, if he come out and said, "Oh, he's my hero, Osama bin Laden," we'd say, "Right, actually."
It was a little parody, a little satire, a little humour. It is frightening. Now, Mark, do you think? Do you hope? Who do you hope? Do you think Mr. Trump or Ms. Harris will win tomorrow? And would you build? These are double-barreled question. Would you build a statue to the Premier Dan Andrews? You mightn't want to
Trump
answer.
or Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I would go Trump. I don't agree with everything he said. I don't. I
He's
think he's an
star.
arsehole. Listen, I know you think what you think. I think he can be an arsehole. I think he can be, but I think he has got a lot of authority around the world with other leaders. And I always thought he'd get back in. Now Kamala Harris appears. Joe Biden didn't have a chance. We know that. He had zero chance. Like he's just got old. Now Kamala Harris, my God, if she's the best the opposition can come up with,
And that's the point.
we can't. You can't have. I don't.
That is the
it's not
point,
her
Mark
or
Robinson. That is the point.
They can't be. She cannot be the leader she cannot be the leader of the Western world.
That is the point. If she gets him over the line in a week, they should rip her aside and put Gavin Newsom or someone in. I don't care. You cannot have that woman lead the most powerful country in the world.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
Now, Mark
Dan
Robinson.
Andrews statue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go on. No, I want to know. Do you dip a toe in the water with
statue.
Victorian politics? How's the state going? We have become a shithole.
We are in trouble. We are in trouble. You know why we're in trouble? We're in trouble for a lot of reasons. We're in trouble because everyone I know in life is feeling the pinch. Everyone I know in life is feeling economic pinch. Now, I go back to my parents, my stepfather, and my mother in the late 80s, and the interest rates were 18, 19%. I said to them, how the hell did you survive? How did you survive? And they said it was really tough. But right now, this is the worst. I've been in Melbourne since 92. Right now, this is the worst Melbourne has been. And so many people I know in life are just finding it really, really hard.
So
really hard. And so this is not right. We can't be living like this.
Did you get the brace and bits when they flicked you off 360, or did they do it the right way, or should they? You think they could have been a little more subtle?
Oh, well, it's a brutal world.
Yep.
They told me they might be making changes, and then they come down and say, we've made changes. We want you to go off. But at the time, they did say to me, we don't want you to leave. We want you to do this and this. So they offered me other roles, okay? But I just thought, well, can I give that some thought? And I haven't spoken to them since.
I got sacked. They didn't offer me any other roles.
Yeah, but fuck.
Nah, that's
I
it.
mean,
It's good.
I'm just a person who worked there for 14 years and I loved it. They want to make changes. No worries. Hey, I can get the shits, Sam. I can. But really, what's the point of me getting the shits? I'd rather say I had so much fun.
Yes.
And you know what? Thanks. You changed my life. You changed my life,
yeah, that's
mate.
true. Same with me.
Positives outweigh the negatives by that far. There's no point getting the shits. If you asked me 6 years ago, I would have burnt the joint down.
Did you ever look back at you on camera and think, shit, I might go and see, I might get touched up a bit. I'd like to make myself look. Do you ever think of getting any work done to yourself?
I never watch.
Yourself
I
back.
never watched the show back.
No, that's a good thing to do. I didn't watch us back either. Now, Mark Robinson. You're a star, mate, and you have been, and well done. And I'll leave you with this. I just hope, no matter what happens, that your health and your wellness and your good. I just hope your wellness and your fitness follows you wherever you go, because if you ain't got that, it doesn't matter about any of this conversation we've had, mate.
It's a very, very nice thing to say. It's a very, very true thing. Righto, you two. Hey, thanks for giving us a call. I'm glad you had a great trip and safe boating. Is that the saying?
Yeah, bon voyage, all that.
Yachting.
Yeah, bon voyage, all that. But thank you, mate. All the best.
No worries. See you soon.
See ya.